Hi, my name is Clay Francisco, and this is my informative speech about my birth month, April 1997. I didn't really think it was that important of a time, besides the fact that I was born that month, but it turns out there's a lot of other things that were going on. It's really cool to go back and look and see kind of where the sports world was, where entertainment was, kind of who the popular musicians and movies were, who the current president was at that time, the state of our politics, the state of our relations with nations that isn't the U.S. So it was a cool research assignment, and I really enjoyed doing it. So I'm going to give you guys some facts here, some things that I learned from doing the research. To start out, we're going to take a look at some in the entertainment world, kind of where that was at in April 1997. So the first thing that popped up when I looked this up was that crocodile hunter. So Steve Irwin, you know, the guy that's going into crazy situations, poking animals with sticks, that kind of thing. He he debuted for the first time on Crocodile Hunter, which is really cool. I mean, it's a big part of a lot of the older people in my life. I'm not sure if I ever watched it or saw it live or on TV or whatever, but I saw clips of it and it looked like a pretty cool show that maybe my parents would enjoy at that time or something like that, or my brothers, even my older brothers. So that's pretty cool to see that came out then. Another thing that came out then was Howard Stern, one of the hosts of America's Got Talent at one point, started a radio show and he went on tour kind of, and he premiered in Fort Myers, Charlotte, the Twin Cities of St. Paul and Minneapolis, and kind of did something like that, which was one of the first radio tours I think that was ever done, and that's why it was significant and popped up when I looked that up. Another big one is Titanic opened up in theaters in New York City, which is really cool because I've actually seen that movie. I didn't know that it came out really around the time that I was born, so that's kind of neat that it came out so close to my birth. And it's cool to see how far technology has come since then. That was another cool part of this research project and the process of delivering this speech, is learning so much about a time when I had no idea about anything. Just a couple other things. A movie called Volcano was released for the first time. Seemed like it was a pretty big deal, so I thought I'd throw that in here. Another name I recognized was Jekyll and Hyde, opened up at Plymouth Theater in New York City. A big event that happened that I thought kind of still has ties to today is Ellen DeGeneres openly admitted that she was gay for the first time. And 42 million people were watching it, which is kind of incredible, and it takes a lot of courage for her to do that. So I think that's huge that she did that 20 years ago now, and people are still struggling to do that today, which is just hard to wrap my mind around. So good for Ellen DeGeneres. Brooke Shields, an actor, married a tennis star, Andre Agassi, a tennis star I personally enjoyed watching play and watch play. Tomoyuki Tanaka, the producer of Godzilla, passed away in April of 1997, which was a sad time, obviously. But those are just a few things that in the movie world that were going on. Here are some popular movies at the time. Obviously Titanic, but then Jurassic Park: The Lost World came out at this time. Men in Black, which I've seen many times. Didn't know that came out when I was born. Liar Liar with Jim Carrey, one of my favorite actors. That was one of his main movies. Great movie. And the classic Batman and Robin was also popular at this time. Some popular music, which I still listen to. Don't know how this ties together. But Mariah Carey, Smashing Pumpkins, The Verve, great artists, great bands. Foo Fighters, Daft Punk, Radiohead, Celine Dion, and Garth Brooks. I had no idea that these were some of the popular ones 20 years ago now, and I'm still looking them up on Spotify and listening to some of their songs. So that's really cool for me to experience. Some current news and facts that was going on. There was healthcare and tobacco finally reached an agreement that healthcare would kind of cover tobacco when originally it wasn't covered at all. I think that's huge considering the amount of tobacco that was used back then, and then still that kind of carried over into some healthcare plans today, and 20 years ago it turns into today, and we still are covered. Current news, obviously there was still tragedy back 20 years ago and some things that get forgotten. It's kind of crazy how things get forgotten. A tornado had touched down in Texas that killed 27 people tragically in April 1997. There was some floods in North Dakota that were tremendous as well. So when we recognize the things that happened, we also got to recognize the tragedies and pay respects in that capacity as well, I believe. In the technology world, Microsoft was worth $261 billion in 1997, and I didn't look up what it's worth now, but I can't imagine that it's very cheap. Average cost of a new house was about $124,000. Average yearly income was about $37,000, and a gallon of gas was $1.22. Oh, I would pay a lot of money to go back and have that be the cost of gas right now. Another big news for some reason I saw that I thought it was kind of funny. A 63-year-old woman gave birth in April 1997, which at the time I believe she was the oldest woman to do so. The American online email service reached Japan at this point, which is pretty big. And it shows really how far we've come since then, because we have international networks up the wazoo nowadays, which is kind of cool to see the first one that happened 20 years ago in that email service. Switching over to politics, Bill Clinton was the current president in 1997. One of Clinton's partners, McDougal, was charged with embezzlement at this time. One of the few scandals, obviously, that surrounded this presidency. Also, the CIA at this time admitted error on Iraqi arms and said that they had made a bad read on one of their pursuits at this time. So that's kind of ironic to see that mistakes still happen. It's a real thing. Mistakes will always happen, not only in politics, but in entertainment and anything else in the world, and mistakes will always be around. It's just something you have to live with. Personally, my favorite thing to go back and look at was the sports world at the time. That's just who I am. I love baseball, basketball, any sport really. Soccer is the first one I have on here. The Major League Soccer, MLS, was expanded to Chicago and Miami, which now they've added about 10 new cities to it, so that's really awesome. MLS is slowly advancing. In April 1997, opposing pitchers, which is very rare, hit home runs in the same game for the first time. Carlos Perez and Darren Holmes. That's really cool. Tiger Woods, one of my favorite golfers to still go back and watch some highlights on. I watched some today. Won his Masters at 21 years old, so only a year older than me, and the guy was winning the Masters and making millions and millions of dollars through Nike. In April 1997 as well, number 42, worn by Jackie Robinson, the first Negro to play in Major League Baseball, was retired for all of MLB, which is something that still stands today, and there's still Jackie Robinson Day held every single year, so that's really awesome to see that still carry on. The first MLB game was played in Hawaii. I believe it was the Cardinals and the Astros. So that's pretty cool, kind of flying to Hawaii, playing on Hawaiian soil. There's no franchise in Hawaii still, but maybe that's something for the future. That's something the league is still working on. A big one that I didn't know that happened around the time of my birth was Mike Tyson, the professional boxer, had bit off an opponent's ear during a match, and that's still something that I've seen, like you see highlights of today and you hear talk of today. So that's kind of cool to see that was around that time as well. Obviously, these are just a few things that happen in the entertainment, sports, and politics, current event world. A lot of things that we can learn from, and a lot of things that we can be blessed and see that we've grown so much during this time. And I look forward to going back and looking at some more dates as well. Thank you for listening. Let me know your feedback.